Hi students, this video is going to help you throughout the process of drafting your application letter. So a lot of this is drawn from chapter 5 of the textbook, so I would recommend that you read through the section on application letters before you start drafting. I'm just going to highlight some of the key ideas, but you should go back and read it yourself as well. So in the chapter, it does talk about the purpose of application letters in general, and there's three purposes to that. It's to show off your unique qualifications, offer specific details about your skills, and show your personality and soft skills. The last two are really important because your resume is not going to do these two things. Your resume is going to be kind of your general skills, and you're going to be kind of confined to a very rigid format, so you're not going to get a lot of personalities. And in my opinion, soft skills should never be anywhere on your resume. So this is really the place where you get to show that in your letter. When you organize your letter, you're going to want to follow the genre pattern, of course. But within the genre pattern, there's also some common moves. So in the introduction, you're going to want to state your subject, purpose, main point, the importance of that main point, and then maybe a little bit of background information. You still want to be as brief as possible, however. So in the book, there is an example of a very brief introduction that makes all of those 5 moves that you can check out. At the very least, you want to make sure that you have your purpose and main point. You want to say why you're writing, and basically your main point in an application letter is always because you feel that you're the best candidate suited to that position. So if we look at some of our examples here, we can see the 5 moves at work. Okay, it says I'm applying for an internship, so that's the purpose. And then the main point is I'm committed to working for a company like yours, and my experience makes me an excellent candidate. So we've got all of those 5 moves right there. In the body paragraphs, this is where you get to show your skills in action. So you want your body to have 2 or 3 paragraphs. So you're going to think of 2 or 3 examples or 2 or 3 narratives that you want to share. And that's where you're going to get the material for those 2 to 3 paragraphs. You want to remember that your letter is a persuasive argument. So the supporting evidence and the evidence for your claims is going to come in that body paragraph. And you want to make sure that you back up your claim. So your claim is going to be that you're the best candidate or that you're an excellent candidate for the position. You don't just want to say that, you want to show that. You want to prove that throughout your letter. So that's where you really want to be thinking, is this is a persuasive document. I'm proving that I am the best candidate for this position. Something that I would like to teach you and that I would like to see in your application letters is something called the STAR method, and that stands for situation, task, action, and result. So within your body paragraphs, you're going to use this STAR criteria. So the S stands for situation. That's where you're going to give the context of your example. You're going to set up your story. You're going to set up your narrative. You want to use examples of situations that maybe could even occur in the job that you're applying for, or that they can see that this situation is relevant to the job that you're applying for. Then you're going to explain what task you completed or what task you were assigned. You're going to explain what action you took to solve the problem or complete the task. And you want to show that you took initiative. You want to show your unique skills, your creativity. You want to show some personality here. And then the last thing you want to do is show the results. So you want to prove that you achieved the goal or that your actions were effective. So let's look at an example here. So here's the situation. She was a tutor. Okay. She wanted to help one of her students. This is what she did to promote collaboration. And here is the result. Raised their test scores, graduated from high school, enrolled in college. Okay, so we can actually see an actual a result here. Okay, another example of a result that sometimes people have trouble talking about results when they're referring to soft skills. Like, let's say you have excellent customer service skills, or you're really good at solving problems and working with people. In that case, like maybe you were a customer service representative at a retail store. You could say that proof of your excellent communication or customer service ability would come from being recognized as Employee of the Month. So that's a result. That's proof. Or maybe it's a customer, commended you to your manager and left a really good review or something like that. That would be proof that you have the skills that you say you have. So you want to show proof. Sometimes it's easier with quantitative data, but if you're talking about a soft skill, really try to think of a way that you can prove that you achieved that goal or that you have that skill. I want to look at this example because the STAR criteria or the STAR method doesn't necessarily have to take up a ton of space. Sometimes students think, oh gosh, if I have to do all those things, I have to write a really long paragraph, but that's not true. So here's an example of a 2-sentence STAR method paragraph. We've got one sentence that sets up the situation. The task is to keep track of their study participant and results. It had to do with working on a database. Then we've got the action, filling the information holes, and the result was that it took a lot less time than they originally thought. So she's proving, or he's proving, the student is proving that they're very efficient, that they did a good job, and things like that. Okay? So that's how you can do it, and it doesn't have to, like that example, it doesn't have to take up a ton of space. All right. So that's the body paragraphs. Your conclusion has 3 moves. You should thank them, offer follow-up or contact information, and then a look to the future. If you're going to include some sort of look to the future where you say that you'll follow up with them in a week, you need to make sure that you actually do that. You don't want to make a promise in your application letter and then not follow up, because then it makes you look flaky. So if you're not planning on reaching out to them, I wouldn't put that in your look to the future. Just thank them and then offer your contact information. And even if there's contact information on your resume, you may want to consider putting it in your application letter as well, just in case your letter and your resume get separated or something like that. Or maybe the recruiter only has your letter. So you want to make sure that you have your contact info on there as well. In terms of style and tone, you want to make sure that there's lots of personality. I don't want to see letters that could have been written by a robot. The book says to use a, quote, you attitude, and basically that's just communicating in the letter as if you're talking to a recruiter and saying like, your company, and this is what I can bring you. So you're thinking about what you can do for them, and you're using a language that is conversational in that way. You want to make sure that you have an active voice and active verbs, and you can make sure that you do that by using the paramedic method to revise your letter. So when you're ready to begin, you want to think through these 2 questions. What skills were needed for the job, and what situations show that you have those skills in action? Now, what's interesting here is if you'll think about it, you already have all of that raw material. What skills were needed for the job? That's going to come from your job ad analysis. What situations show that you have those skills in action? That's going to come from your professional skills inventory. So you already have all of the raw information. You're just compiling it using the STAR method. And then you want to look at your raw material and choose the best skills and the best narratives that are suited for that specific job. Something that students may not realize is you want to have a unique employment packet for every job that you apply for. You should revise your resume and revise your application letter to make it tailored to each job that you do. And if you really want a job, I would do a job ad analysis for that job, and then look at your professional skills inventory and start the process for your employment packet almost brand new every time. You can have a master resume or a master application letter that you kind of pull things from, but you really want your employment packet to be tailored to the specific job and the skills that they're looking for. The last thing I want to talk about is taking your writing to the next level. So if you really want to stand out from all the other applicants, I would recommend that you have some sort of interesting hook at the beginning to grab their attention. This shows personality and sets you apart from other applicants. Something else you can do is kind of have an overall theme that ties all of the skills and all of the paragraphs together. Um, an example of this is my husband applied for a job at Banner Hospitals, and he kind of had a theme of family woven throughout his letter. He started off with a hook that talked about how his dad and his father-in-law had both spent some time in Banner Hospitals and how he was very impressed by the care that they were given. And then he kind of weaves that family-oriented feeling throughout the rest of the letter. Now, it worked really well for the hospital because they're a very community and family-oriented business, and people actually told him that they really enjoyed his application letter. But I wouldn't do something like that. It was kind of warm, fuzzy feeling. I wouldn't do something like that for like a financial institution. Later in his career, my husband applied for Vanguard and a position at Vanguard, and it was a totally different letter, and it didn't have, the warm, fuzzy family theme throughout. But those two things can really help you to stand out. And you can look at some of the student examples. So here's a student example that begins with a hook, with talking about her father and, kind of some dialogue that's interesting. And it isn't until here that she kind of has her ethos statement, which is fine. I think it works really well, and it makes her stand out because this line right here, as a student in the W.P. Carey School of Business at Arizona State University, every W.P. Carey student is going to have that in their application letter. So if everybody starts that way, that's really boring. So I recommend that you kind of have this nice hook at the beginning. Something else that will really take everything to the next level is transitions between body paragraphs. And I do have a video that you can view about how to do transitions, and several of the student examples have excellent transitions. So you can kind of look at those and see the transitions that some of the examples have. It just makes everything flow together and seem very cohesive and unified. So I hope that that helps you as you start writing your application letter. If you need any help with your drafting process, feel free to ask.